Mighty Mondays on the O Factor with Olwethu Nodada.
Good morning. It's a mighty Monday. It's the 25th of November. As we do every single Monday, we were so intentional about anchoring you in something that is solid and strong to make sure that the rest of your week feels absolutely incredible. And as we wind down towards the end of the year, it's when we need to take stock and slow down a bit, maybe feeling a little bit anxious and all those things. And I thought for these last few moments of Mighty Monday, we'd actually bring Candice in the studio and have her talk to us, and we can actually engage on these final topics. Candice, good morning. Welcome home.
Hello,
How are you?
hello. I am so excited to be here. So many weeks have passed.
Imagine.
Months, actually.
Imagine.
And finally we get to do this. Thank you. I'm so excited. Good morning, Hearties, and all the Mighty Monday listeners. So happy to be in studio with you this morning, Olwethu.
My WhatsApp line is going to go absolutely insane because generally they're like, oh, Candice, so now that you're here and you can interact with everyone, it's going to be so beautiful. So today, Hearties, we're talking about embracing change and adapting to life's shifts. Now, that's a tough one.
Yes.
Can you unpack that for us?
Yes, I think it's probably the only constant that you and I have is knowing that at some point in our lives we are going to encounter a shift or change. And so I think what's fundamental in what we can reflect back to ourselves is asking, how do we best embrace that? How do we embrace when a transition or shift or change is going to occur? Because it's going to happen. And I think one of the things that often might come up for you when approaching something new or looking at potential change happening in your life or shifting taking place, it's that feeling of, this is uncomfortable. Almost a place of discomfort for us sometimes. And also often what accompanies that is feeling quite scared.
Anxious.
Afraid of the unknown and the uncertainty that goes with that. Because I think what change does is it pulls us out of what is familiar. And I believe that the only way in which we're really able to embrace whatever that change is through acceptance. So just allowing ourselves to feel fully and experience whatever that moment brings to us. Allowing yourself to process and to regulate through that experience. But it only happens when we acknowledge. And so I think that's a good place to start this morning. It is acknowledgement of what is
to acknowledge.
Happening. Yeah.
I think we often want to live in the what I don't know. I mean, can't hurt me. What I haven't really realized is a reality can't be a reality, and then you sort of like going against the what is consistently, and that brings up the turmoil and the angst and the discomfort. Okay, how do I acknowledge? Okay, this is what it is now.
Yeah, I do think it comes with a lot of reflection for you as an individual. It's really how much of yourself you allow to sit in whatever that discomfort is and whatever that looks like for you. So the extent to which you and I can self-reflect and ask those questions, and I think it really only comes through a certain level of mindfulness for you and I to ask yourself, and we've been speaking about this, like what is on my mind this morning, what is it that is seated with me in terms of my emotions and my feelings, and then what is my physical body saying to me? Very simple questions, but that really draws everything back to you and understanding what is happening with you. And I believe that once we're able to fully grow in that self-awareness and that ability to self-reflect, that's when navigating through the difficulties of life becomes a lot easier to adapt to. Because often it's about the adaptability. How well do you and I adapt to when change occurs in our lives? And there's something that always motivates me and encourages me. It's looking at life as seasons that we go through, and knowing that to every season there has to be an end. So if you've had a difficult season, maybe the year hasn't particularly been your year. We start a new year and we say it's my year this year. Maybe it hasn't been your year this year. But I find encouragement in, and I hope that the listeners do too this morning, in knowing that the season must change.
It has to change.
It has to change. So if you've been in a dark season, in a dark space in your life, your joy is coming. Your sunshine season is coming. And I hope that you're able to fully embrace whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah. When you mentioned change a little bit earlier on, when we were speaking about it earlier on in the year, we always spoke about how you're supposed to learn in that season of change, in that season of. I want to unpack that and also maybe go into the practicality of navigating and embracing the adversity that comes with the change, embracing the change. I know you always get practical and give us real life examples so we're able to hold on to it. We're going to do some music, and we're doing a mighty Monday with the ever stunning Candice Warner, our connection focused therapist. She's in studio with us today, talking about navigating change, embracing adversity and all of that. You can get involved in our WhatsApp line 082 222 1049. We'll be back just after these.
Mighty Mondays on the O Factor with Olwethu Nodada.
Hey, good morning, hearties. We're back for a mighty Monday. It is the 25th of November. We're talking about embracing change and adapting to life's shifts. We have the stunning Candice Warner in studio with us. She sort of laid out the landscape of what that looks like. And now we're going to maybe delve into the actual experiencing of the change and how we can sit and grow in it. Because like you mentioned earlier, it's not easy, but there are lessons within that.
Yes. I believe that through every experience that we encounter in our lives, there is something that we are able to take out of that experience. And through whatever we are taking, there's a potential opportunity for growth that can occur. And so of course we're going to get practical about it this morning, and I want to share 3 things that I think would be important in how you best navigate through whenever change occurs for you. The first we've pretty much touched on, and that is just acknowledging whatever that is. So how do you do that? You name it. You name whatever that experience or that encounter is for you, and what it looks like to you, what it brings up for you. You can practically journal. You can make notes about that. You could even potentially share that with a loved one, someone that you are really connected to and close to, acknowledging what that is. And then the second thing is, I think, staying present.
Sure.
Staying present. Often our fears, our deeply seated fears, runs away with us, and we get so lost in this whirlwind of what this potentially is going to do, what we anticipate is going to happen, what we fear is going to happen. And so we lose that present moment. We lose the ability to stay present and be present even with ourselves.
Sort of grounding effect of that.
Grounding yourself and centering yourself through whatever that experience is. And again, we go back to the self-awareness aspect and how important it is that we are constantly reflecting on whatever our journey has been like, what our journey looks like right now to us, and even what others potentially has brought back to you. And I'm speaking about those safe people, just to be clear. I'm speaking about people that you are closely connected to, people within your sort of inner circle, people that you trust. What have they reflected back to you about what is happening in your life and the journey that you've been on, to even allow yourself to reflect on those words and those experiences of what your loved ones has brought to you.
Sure.
And then finally, adjusting our perspective. I've often heard this saying, it is a mindset that needs to shift.
Sure.
It's a mindset that needs to change. Often we are so stuck in the way that we think and the way that we perceive the world and people in the world. So how do you and I adjust our perspective? How do we change perhaps the way that we've, patterned our thinking? We think in a certain way, no matter what the scenario or the situation, we always think about it in a certain way, and that becomes our reality eventually, because our perceptions are so real that it often overrides reality if we aren't careful. And that's the power of perception. It will override whatever the reality is. Have you ever encountered speaking to somebody and you're listening to what they're sharing with you and explaining, and you're like, I don't really think that's what it is,
because you've already decided.
And
that's your perception.
And that's the power of perception. So how do we ground ourselves? How do we bring ourselves back, centering ourselves to asking, what is it that's really happening here? How do I move into a growth mindset? In knowing that I do not need to limit myself in the situation or feel like this is the end or there's nowhere to go from here. How do I expand my thinking to think beyond whatever the circumstance or the situation has revealed to me? So acknowledging, staying present, and truly being able to adjust the way in which we perceive and think about our problems.
I love that so much. It's so important because you get this sort of, you box yourself in terms of your view, and that's what makes it so overwhelming, right? And that's what makes it, you isolate yourself in your thinking as well.
Especially when you're in something, when you're in the middle of something hard, something difficult, you almost lose the full picture, the full perspective, because you're in it and you're feeling all of the feels in that experience,
Yeah, I think that's so important. It's going to be a festive season, a happy season, but not necessarily for everyone. There may be feelings of loss, there may be some grief. Festive season might not bring up the best memories for some of our listeners, but also if we shift to the positive aspects of it, it's an opportunity for us to make new starts, an opportunity for us to create new memories, an opportunity for us to sit in the reality and anticipate positive things.
Yes.
As opposed to the fear of this unknown. So we must paint a picture of something pretty as opposed to something that's scary, right?
I love that. And that's the gift of being present, is that when I gift myself that, I'm allowing myself to immerse whatever that moment presents, which I may have in another situation not seen or not understood had I not been fully present.
I love that. Any final thoughts to our hearties as we wrap up, adjusting to the shifts of life?
Yes.
What can we really hold on to before we say goodbye to you this morning?
Of course, I'm always going to go back to the connections that we share and that we hold to our dear to our loved ones. And I think, especially with Christmas coming up, it is about that connection, the attention, the love that we really begin to embrace during this period. More so even being mindful of those who don't have, those connections and those relationships. So to hold on to those relationships in your life that have shaped you, that have contributed to who you are, and to allow yourself to really enjoy the moments that this festive period is going to bring for you.
Oh, wow.
This time.
Thank you, Candice. So good to see you as Candice and Warner, our connection focused therapist, our hero for Mighty Monday over the past 11 months. She'll be back next week as we unpack some final thoughts before we close off the year. Thanks, lady.
Thank you so much.